Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and we're on to the next page of hashtag Mixed Media March 25, and I believe it's page 24. It is page 24, that was page 23. Now, if you don't know what hashtag Mixed Media March 25 is all about, please take a look in the description box below. There's a link to the launch video in there, and it will all be explained in that. Okay, before I go ahead, this yesterday, loved it. I managed to get Ceri's last name wrong in the video. Her last name is Burlington. However, if you look in the description box of this video, you will see the correct name written down. You will see the link to her video. As I said, pop across, have a look. I love what the artist is doing, and I'm very fond of the inspiration she's sharing with us all. Now, what I want to do today is I'm going to work in a little bit of watercolour. I have to work out how to do this because I need to work on the background first. Sorry, just having a bit of an outer body moment there. Right, I think if I move all that over, that'll be fine. You'll be able to see what I'm doing. Move a few items and we'll be safe and ready to go. Now, I'm going to be doing a watercolour thing today. And I want to see whether I can tie it in with this, which I think I can. I've got a fair idea about how I want to do this. Paintbrushes need to go over there. This is the size of my project. So as you can see, we've got a large expanse of paper with nothing else on it. So I'm going to do myself a bit of a painty background, which will be a combination of acrylic, and it'll be a combination of watercolour. And I say that because this is mixed media paper, it's not watercolour paper. This is watercolour paper. Okay, so it may not make a huge amount of difference, it'll make some. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to come in with those ever-ready strips that I've had from day one. And to be honest with you, I think we're at the end of using some of these. I've used them so much though. Recycle, 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 that's what I did. I need to try and get that on the edge of that lip. And I think I have. I'm putting this around just to give me a bit of a barrier about how far I can let the watercolour wash go, because I've found that if I do something that's got water on here, when the water gets at the edge of that page, it's not. When the water gets to the edge of a page, it then has a way of seeping back into the fibres of the page, and it makes it soggy. It's just the way I am, guys. Just ignore me if I'm blathering on about something you're like, what the hell is that boy talking about? Well, you know what, he's just having a moment. So I want to come in now. The palette I'm going to use, I pulled out my little travel palettes. These are the ones that when I go on vacation, I take with me. So purely because I like what they offer. I've made these up myself. I bought these as empty paint palettes, and I've just over the years added the bits and pieces that really attract me. Now, this is where I'm drawing inspiration from, which means it's predominantly this palette, but there is a hint of that teal colour in here, so I will probably dip into this and bring some of that across. That's probably as close as I'm going to get, maybe that one. Do you see what I mean? And this, what I'm doing is just absolutely bare minimum washes. I don't want anything big and heavy here. Now I do have 2 jars of water here, as I normally do, one for washing my brush, one for giving me clean water. And I'm going to, how can I do this with, just put it on the top of there, it's not going to kill you. Right, so I'm going to put water into here. As I said, I don't want massive amounts for the background, because the background is a background because it's a background. Quoted from Diane Reevely. And that's a good thing to remember, that you're working with a background, you're not making the background a focal point. So that's where I'm coming from on this. So I want really light washes of colour, like really light washes of colour. Right, so I'm making the washes quite soft in their colour. Now I obviously want to pull in some of, let's turn this so it's the right way around, Griffiths. So I want to pull in some of this sort of colour. It's sort of a caramel type colour. It's probably called something like yellow ochre or ochre or whatever you call it. I don't tend to get hung up on names of stuff. I try basically just to work with what I have. Now, I'm not going to put metallic into the background, so I'm going to put yellow in instead. And I think that's a little bit of a muted yellow there. Just a little bit. I also am going to do something else on the background as well. So now I don't have a burgundy, do I? What colour is this? I know it's in the wrong palette, but I could probably get away with a little bit of that, I suppose. If I do that with a touch of red, maybe. I think, well, apparently we're already doing that. Oh, that lifted off quite nicely. Right. I don't recommend mixing colours directly on top of your work surface where you're going to be creating, guys. That's just not me being lazy. That's just me dealing with the space I'm working within because of the parameters of the video. Right. I know I'm not going to get the perfect match, but I'm just going to put a little more red into this so it's not so much purple. And I think I want to put a little darkness into that just to take it away from that fuchsia looking colour. Let's put a little bit of this brown in there. That will it will take the edge off it. And because this colour is in other places, it will bring it across. Right. How do I want to do this? Right, let's just leave that there. Please excuse the fact that I'm going to be reaching up and across in areas like this. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to give this a wash. I think it's probably about a 1/2 inch brush here. Now, it's mixed media paper. I know it's going to soak this water up like nobody's business, but I don't want to saturate the page. I just want it damp, because if there's a little bit of moisture in the fibers of the paper, it's less likely to suck the paint up like this. And then when I put the paint down, I will come in afterwards and also put water on the page. I don't want to get things too wet. I'm a bit paranoid about making anything too wet because the other side of this page, obviously, is another piece of art. Right. Where's that little paintbrush I like so much? Where have I put you? Oh, duh, right in the middle of there. So I'm going to come in first of all with my teal type colour, and only because if I can get the teal one down, it'll tell me. The trouble is, if I mix the teal with one of the warmer colours, I am more than likely to make mud. Mud is not a problem. Mud can be dealt with, but I just want to get this on. I'm also not going to dry in between, although I will probably dry it afterwards. Now, if I was to dab this with a kitchen towel, it would lift quite a bit of that off, and I am likely to do something like that in a few minutes. I just want a bit of it to soak in. Cleaning my brush, get the new white piece. Now, I want a little bit of the burgundy in here as well. Now, I know this area here is going to be where the central piece lies down. So I just want to make sure I've got it in a few places. Let's bring in that brown. The brown is the important colour to me, because this immediately pulls that across. Now, watercolour paint is going to dry lighter. I know that. Yeah, of all the things that I found hard about learning watercolour, or learning where I'm up to with watercolour, is the fact that it dries lighter and you have to work from light to dark, which isn't something I find easy, because I normally work the other way round in acrylics. So I've sort of got to get myself into a different kind of a mindset for this. Right, now that's on there. I'm just going to put this kitchen paper on here. I'm not sure it's going to pick up anything other than do that, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. And I want to a couple of little splatters. Now I need to make sure that I don't splatter across this one. I'm also going to do the same thing with the teal colour that I made, picking up a little bit more of it in its more concentrated form. Do I want to put that pink in here? I might want to put a little bit of that pink in here. Right, and wash my brush off. Right, I'm letting that sit for a second. Right, I am very happy with the delicate nature of that. Now I want to come in with a little bit of acrylic stamping now. And it's a stamp I bought, so I can't remember when I bought it. It's a feather stamp from PM Artist Studio. Couldn't tell you who the designer is. I didn't bother to check this morning. I do apologise. Bit of a frantic morning already. I just liked it. It just really appealed to me. I want this in the background, but I do not want it to be harsh. So just pull in my little gel plate. This is my 3x5. I tell you what, this 3x3 and the 3x5, I'm amazed at how much I've used these in this whole challenge. And I'm going to come in with pale lemon. Just a little bit. And I've not done this before, so I'm going to experiment straight into a book. How stupid is that? This is just Red Oxide by Golden. And I just want a hint of that in there as well. Just like, as you can see, a merest dot. And it would help to have a brayer. Right, I've got my 4-inch speedball brayer. I will mix these colours together. Let's move that over a little bit. Is that the sort of colour I wanted? I think I wanted it lighter than that. Right, let's just brayer this off on here. And I think I want to add a little bit more of that. Yeah, the yellow wasn't the problem. I think I had too much brown in it. And if it's still too dark, I'm going to have to put a little bit more white into it. So again, just coming in, mixing that round on the plate. Yeah, that's kind of more I was thinking of. I want them to be seen, but I don't want them too focal. I think that'll do. So I'm just going to come in. Now, when I stamp, I always press my finger in the middle of the stamp to make sure I've got on, and I always check. Now, it's easy to check when you're using paint because you can see it. Sometimes when you're using ink, it's not as easy. Right, so I've got that on there. Now, I want to put these on here almost like a wallpaper pattern. I'm not looking for perfect. We're never looking for perfect. I mean, my old me would have actually just come in and lined these all up with each other with the ruler. I am not. Right, I'm going over the top there. Now, these are likely to be underneath, which also doesn't bother me because I don't mind that it's... So I'll just redo that one just a little bit, just in case that... I doubt what that's going to show. Right, I'm going to come over here. Come over here. Right, now I'm going to just pull in the piece I'm going to be creating. So that's going to pretty much cover that anyway. Right, so I could just put a little bit down here. I'm not sure whether it will be seen because I'm not exactly sure where under the tape it's going to be. Stop saying Griffiths. It's very uneducated. Maybe put a partial one there. And just a major hint of an edge there. And I'm back, and it's all dry. Now, if you're thinking, oh, the stamp doesn't stamp very well, not the stamp fault. It's user fault. I am not stamping onto a flat piece of paper. And the other side of this, I've got journal tags in pockets. So it's not a flat surface to work upon. And now I'm going to use grey, this is shadow grey, to stamp text on. This is just Denasby, I don't know where it comes from, it's just a text stamp I really like. And I'm going to use it soft without a block to hopefully eliminate some of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with this script stamp. I've chosen grey because remember, this is a background. And also, I don't mind if this doesn't stamp perfectly. I'm going to go across areas where there are those little gaps that I think may be seen. Just a little bit of that on there. I'd quite like to put some gold splatters onto the back of this, but I'm not sure I want to because I know what I'm doing with the front side of this, and I think it might just be a little bit distracting. Actually, if I just put a little bit in there. Now, because I know what my piece is going to look like, I can bring this in, and I know that will sit on there. Slightly annoyed that those are absolutely symmetrical either side, but you know, it's Ceri Griffiths, it's what I do, isn't it? So let's put that to one side and stop saying so Griffiths, because it's really annoying. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the tape. Now, the tape has only been on there probably 10 minutes while we've been working, so I don't know that I need a hairdryer to take it off. So now the background is done, we can get rid of the book, not literally, but it'll be put somewhere safe, and I can start working on the next stage of this. Bear with me, I just need to find a flat surface where this can lie down. Okay, I'm going to do on here, I want to do an arty feather, and I'm going to incorporate some of this into the feather. I've got an idea, it should work. There's a big word, should, but it should work. I'm just unsure at the moment. Now, when I draw feathers, I work from feathers. Like if I'm trying to draw something, I will usually find a resource that I got. Now, I find these on the street when I'm walking. I live in a city, so I'm not in the wildlife, not in parklands. These are probably from doves or seagulls or things like this. And this is my favourite one, which is probably the one, well, I guarantee it's the one we're doing today. But just so you know that I just pick them up when I see them and they're in good condition. I pick them up and I will just keep them on the shelf here. Now, if I'm worried about them in any way, like see things like the subtle colouring that are good, I will sometimes wipe the quill or the stem of them with alcohol, just in case there's anything on there that I don't really want to think about. Now, when I first started drawing feathers, I thought I knew what a feather looked like. I thought it was a piece up the middle with equal either side. A lot of feathers, the stem down the middle or the shaft of it isn't down the middle. So just be aware. Now, I want to trace this slightly larger than it is because when I'm watercolouring, I do not want to watercolour over the pencil marks. So I'm going to put a mark up here. How far up do I want to go? I think I'm going to put a mark up here so I know where the top of my stem is. I'm going to come all the way down and I'm just going to nudge that out of the way just so I've got a little bit of a something down there. Then I'm literally going to roughly go around the outside, and I'm giving myself leeway to be able to be creative in this. I'm also using a really light touch. Now, I would say turn this around, but this is touching down, so I'm probably not going to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in from the other side, come up to the top. So now I've got my feather there. I'm now going to come in and I'm going to draw that central shaft of the feather all the way down to my new mark. Now remember, it tapers. So this gives me, let's see if I lift that up, this gives me a rough guide of what I'm using. Now, if this was me, not with you here, I would go in with an eraser and I'd probably come in, eraser or rubber if you're in Britain, and I'd take the colour of my lead down even further so it's even more invisible, because the danger is I don't want to go over it. If you have a kneadable, an eraser that's kneadable, you can come in and actually press it and lift some of that off. I'm going to keep my feather here as a reminder, not of the coloration, I'm totally ignoring the colours of this feather, but of just the shapes and the way the veins, you can see they don't go straight out, they go and curve up slightly. Also, this doesn't have notches in it, like the bits where, let's see if I can pull that one apart. I like this sort of look as well. So when I'm creating, I can pull in on that as inspiration. Now, the decision is, what color do I want to make my feather? I actually like the idea of using this color palette that we've already got made up. Probably not that color, and I'm working with the colors as I see them here. I'm not blending other colors with them, and I'm doing that on purpose. Let's go for that reddish orange there, because I want to work with different intensities of the color. So I'm going to start light and then work my way to being dark. Let's pull those in again. And I have a small dot cloth here with me just to get the excess of water off stuff. Now I'm going to have to be moving this around, guys, so please forgive me if it's a bit disorientating. That one's moist enough at the moment. So the first pass is going to be really light. So I'm taking as much paint off there as I can. I'm using, let's take that off, water on the shaft off, because it's going to cause it. I'm using it so the point is aiming outwards. I'm just coming out. I was hoping not to go over the line, but ignore me. Do as I do and not as I say. And now I'm just going to come in. I'm going to put the line back up the inside, and I'm not trying to go over the shaft. I want the shaft left free. Now this is quite a wet solution, so it is going to blend and pool and puddle on itself. I'm going to come in now. I'm going to come in from the other side. I'm being slightly jaggedy with my brushwork. As I said, there's going to be more on here. Now this watercolor paper is the watercolor paper you see me use all the time, so there shouldn't be any surprises as to what it was. It's not, I think it's Carson's water paper. It's one I picked up in the States. So I'm letting it puddle and pool. Right. I'm going to now bring a little bit of that color with a little bit of the yellow, just because I want to change things up a bit as I work my way down the shaft of this feather. I want to remember the, what's the word I'm looking for? The intensity of the color on the other side. Now I'm going to start by bringing this in. I'm trying not to touch the previous piece. Because if I touch this to this, it's going to flood into it. Now there is something I want to do on this that may end up covering up part of this. So I don't want to be too precious about things at this point. So again, as you can see, the lighter the wash, the more transparent the look I get. And I don't mind dropping in little bits of extra. And at this point, I don't mind coming in with the darker color and maybe just putting the odd little bit of that in there, just to give it something of interest. Now I'm working further down. At this point, I think I want to change the colour entirely. So I'm really bringing this down to a thinnish wash. And remember, if it's too heavily coloured, I can always come in and take part of it out. I am going to be using a pen marker on this after as well, so just come and establish that piece along the edge of the shaft of the feather. Just put the odd little bit of this just in places. I'm going to bring a little bit of the yellow in just to warm this up ever so slightly and come in from the other side. Now this is the side I said that I think I might be doing something different with, so I don't know whether it's going to get covered up or not. I love doing feathers. I think it's probably one of the first things that I did that I regarded as successful when I was doing watercolors. And this paper is just soaking up this color. And I'm just going to pull this a little bit down here. Get a bit of water in there actually, because that's really drowning itself at the moment. And while it's still wet, I'm going to put a little bit of wet on the other side as well. I'm going to come in with a bit of clean kitchen paper or kitchen towel, whatever you call it, wherever you live. I'm just going to blot the entire feather. Now, I've laid the paper down and I'm pressing down onto it. I'm not rubbing it. As you can see, there's quite a lot of moisture, and what that will do is it will do that to it. It will absolutely lighten everything back up, exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm now going to come in with a little bit more intensity of the colour that I was using. And I'm talking about the colour that was at the top. And I'm going to come in and see these little fluffy things here. I'm just going to put in some of those with the very tip of my paintbrush. And yes, I've got my feather here for reference. I am not going to marry myself to that feather. I'm not going to be exact in every single thing I do on it. So now, next thing I want to do, and I'll be doing it without you, is I'm just going to put a hairdryer over this, because what I want to do now I've got everything established is I want to dry this completely, and then I'm going to go in with my eraser, rubber in Britain, and actually just take all the pencil marks off now, because I have my basic shape. So I'm going to come back in now, and I want more intensity of the original brown colour. I don't want it so intense that it's chocolate brown, but I do want some intensity. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to work from the stem outwards. I just want to start filling this in. Now I've got that down, and then I'm just going to come in and gently press over the top, and that will just take out the moisture and take it away from being so intense. So I'm going to do the same here. I'm working from the stem outwards because the action will give me a finer tip, as in, as I lift away, I'll have a fine tip. I'm also not trying to do all of my strokes all the way from the stem to the edge, because I know I'll never get them done. There will be more over the top of this, so this isn't the final touch. This again for me is just building up a base work for things. There you go, so I've got that started. Now I'm letting it dry in between because there's going to be more colour put over this again. I'm going to come in with that yellow. Now this time I'm not going to use the more intense version. I'm going to use the wash version because it's the top of the feather I want to be a little bit exaggerated. Okay, I'm happier with that. So I'm kind of okay where I'm at now. I just need to give it a little bit of a thought as to what I want to do next. Now I think I want to bring in this sort of colour. Now the thing is, do I do it in watercolour or do I do it in acrylic and get exactly the right colour? Let's see, what did this colour actually look like on here? I mean, I can always paint over it afterwards in acrylic if I don't like this. A little bit of water into that. Let's just see whether I can... Oh, I think that'll be okay. So at this point, I'm just going to come in. I want to put in quite a bold stripe. Basically, because I like doing this with the feather, I like putting bold stripes in. Now, don't forget, I did say I had something else I might want to do. Well, not might, I'm going to try with this. So that's it. Don't want to do the same on exactly the same side. I don't normally do my stripes exactly the same on either side. Which I'm not going to. I'm going to do it up here instead. I'm trying to be a bit cautious about going over the yellow because, of course, yellow and blue make green. Okay, I think I'm going to take a little tiny bit of this. Where's that tiny brush? Just a little bit of this on my small brush and just introduce it ever so much down here. A little bit of a dab to lift it away. See, just pulling the colour down. Now I've got a feeling I'm getting to the point where I need to put the shaft of the feather in. Now I want to do it really light. As you can see on this one, it's white. Whether it would be white on this one, I don't know. You may also see that with the feather, it's white and then it comes into the colour of the feather itself. So I could come in with the darker brown here, bring it down so far and then just start watering it out, which I think is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in with a darker brown. Now you kind of need a reasonably steady hand. Now, see the stem of this brush? It's got bulbs of water on it. Be careful to clean those off, because if you don't, what will happen is they will all of a sudden run down the shaft of your brush and you'll have a puddle. Remember, this is watercolour, so I can always layer colour up and make it darker. It's far harder to make something lighter. Like that, a little more intense at the tip. Also, guys, I'm not going for realism here. I'm going for my version of a feather. Now, I've just got water on this brush now, and I'm going to pull this colour down the rest of the way. I would if I had enough water on this. A little bit of hint of sunshine out there. We might end up with some nice weather today. I doubt it. The sky is black as all hell out there. And now I'm going to extend the stem down to its base. See, so I've got some sort of gradation going on down there. I think I might want to add a little more water here and just pull that down out of there. If there's one thing watercolor work has taught me, it's even more patience than I had before. You've got to be so patient with watercolor. Well, I believe you have to be so patient with watercolor. Something I just did exactly what I told you not to do. I forgot to wipe the stem on my brush. There you go. See, I'm trying to replicate. This has a certain transparency to it, and that's what I'm trying to, I don't know what the word replicate, but possibly hint at. So I'm okay with that so far. Now I think I need to think about what I was going to do in each of the panels. So now I've got this dry, I want to build up now more of an intensity, because if you look at a real feather, it's darker towards the stem and lighter towards the outside. So I want to play with that as an idea. And to do that, I have two options. I can either work from the outside, lifting paint out, or I can work from the inside, adding paint in. So I think I'm going to work from the inside out here. I'm going to take some of this colour here, which I said I think might be an ochre colour. I'm going to add just a little touch of the brown to it because I want to knock out that real vibrancy of yellow. I'm going to start work here. I'm going to put a line of this down here. I'm not touching the line I've just painted. There's my little bit there, went over where I didn't want it. And then using clean water, I'm just going to pull that colour outwards. Now, it's quite subtle, but as you can see, it really does affect how this all comes to play. So I'm going to come in on the other side now. And do a similar thing here. Now with my clean brush and not that much water, Griffiths, I'm going to work that to the outside. And as that dries, the intensity will come back into it. Now I want to do that with the piece above it. Okay, so that's how that's built up. Now down the bottom, I now need to make decisions about this because to me, it's looking a little pink. So where's the book gone? See, when I look at the colours complementing each other here, I'm struggling to get that pink in there. So I think I want to come in maybe a bit of grey over that would be a better colour. So where's the blacks? The blacks are over there, right? So I'm going to move this to one side a second. There you go. I do like my little travel kits. They fit quite nicely in my bag when I travel. And although I'm not traveling a lot lately, I do enjoy having them on hand. Now again, I could be doing this by adding white to my watercolor paint here, but you'll find if you do that, you'll end up giving yourself an opaque, flat feeling to it. So I'm going to come in. This may be a bit of a bold choice. I'm going to come in. And this sort of jiggy-jaggy action I do along the edge is my attempt to make sure I don't get too much of a line of separation, because some of these colours certainly dry faster than the others. So I'm going to come in with the wet now and pull the wet to the out. I still want to make sure I've got some of that transparency that I had before. Okay. I want to transition between the dark and the light there. So I just want to break that before it sinks into the paper. Have I knocked you again? Before it sinks into the paper and thinks it's going to stay that way, which I can tell you now it's not. Okay, I'm happier with that than I am with that. So it was a good move. It's a bit of a risky move, but it was a good move. Right, because I've got a bigger expanse here to deal with, I'm putting more paint on my brush and trying to work a little more quickly. Come in with my water. Oh, that was a bad mistake. Put my finger in that. Right. Now, the way to clear up something like that is to put clean water on the area that you've just smudged, then take a clean kitchen towel and pull it away. I can always re-establish that darker colour because I know what it is. There you go, I'm okay with that. So I think we're almost at the point. Let's take a little bit of this and work that up the stem of that because I've now changed the colour of the stuff around it. I'm now at the point where I need to dry this fully, and we're dry. Right, now it's hopefully when I start to bring this to life. So I always at this point feel like, oh my God, it looks really heavy, it's a failure. And I have to keep reminding myself, it's my interpretation of a feather. I cannot, and I'm probably never ever going to be able to paint something that light and delicate. It's not in me. I like bold, I like colour, I like outline, I like all of that stuff. So I have to keep managing my own anticipations of what I'm creating. Now, I've got a piece of greaseproof paper here. And what I want to do is I want to trace this panel here. I want to trace all the way down the stem, because that will be my locating. I'm holding, now I could tape this down, but I'm not going to at the moment. And I'm going to draw a line up there. Actually, I need a line there. And then I'm going to draw a line down there. That line down there isn't hugely important, but it's good to have it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an L and I'm going to put an R on that. So I know that that's left and right, because to be able to trace, I'm going to have to draw on the other side, then flip it back. It's going to get complex. Okay, so I'm going to cut these out because I need them cut out. So I'm going to just grab a pair of scissors. I'm going to cut them out with the exception of the spine in the middle, because it'll just be easier to handle things at this stage if there's some connection between the two of them, or else I'm going to have little bits of something flying all over the place. Okay, so I've got my piece that should fit closely into there. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know me, nothing has to be perfect, but it does have to be relatively accurate. Actually, I may not need to trace it. Okay, my aim is I'm going to take some of the pieces that we had from yesterday and make panels that I can stick into this. Like, I really love this bit here. That could become something like that. And I might even try and angle it. And I'd like to pull in something from this piece, which was my main inspiration for the whole thing as well. So I need to come in. Now, thinking about this, I'm not going to be able to trace onto the top of here. So I'm going to have to kind of cut around the template as I've got it. Right. I'd really like this piece here. So I'm just going to take that out of the way. Come on, pick up, will you? What's it with me lately? I can't do stuff. So I really like that, the pattern. And it's finding the bit that I really like of it. Can you see? Hopefully you can. Actually, I don't mind that with that little bit of if I do that, what does that give me? If I do that, however, right, so I'm going to hold this in place and I'm going to cut around this. This isn't what I intended doing. I intended tracing and then cutting the tracing. So this is not the way I expected to do it. So we're just improvising here, guys. So that means that piece effectively should fit in there. Yes, I'm happy with that. Right, now I need to find another piece here. And I really liked the idea of this. But I'm wondering whether, with a bit of clever cutting, whether I can make it look as if these are the veins of the feather. And actually, I think I'm going to try it. Right, how am I going to do this? So, and actually, I can just cut straight through the template now, can't I? Yes, that was it. So let's put all of this to one side because I can deal with that later. This lot won't get thrown away, guys. It will not get thrown away. It will get used for something. I'm wondering whether I could get away with putting... No, let's not overdo that, Griffiths. What's that thing about over-gilding the lily? Now, I'm going to come in on this edge. Do I want that smooth or not? I wasn't planning on doing it. Actually, I've got pen work to go in, so that could be smooth. I think I'm just going to round this ever so slightly at the top. Yeah. Now the question is, what glue am I going to use? I think I'm going to use art glitter glue because remember I'm going paper to a painted surface. So the downside, as I've said before, is art glitter glue, once it's down, it's down. Now, someone is bound to say, why do all the yellow and then stick something over it? Good question. I was going to cut into this to do these so the yellow would shine through. And since I looked at that, I really, really liked it as it was. So, you know, modifying plans, guys, modifying plans. Okay, like that. That's already brought that to life. As I said, we've got pen work to do on this yet. So I want to know now whether I want to bring any pattern down into this area. And I want to just bring in this. They're already beginning to feel like they're coming together. I would like to fit something in there. That's such an expanse that's crying out for something. Just don't forget I have my smaller grid. Maybe I'd like to introduce this sort of burgundy-ish colour into it, if I can remember what it was. I've got a feeling it was this colour. And if it wasn't this colour, it's close enough to be this colour. Right, let me get masking tape. Now, I'm going to have to be super, super careful here because I do not want to get paint anywhere other than where I want paint. I'm also going to have to be really careful taking this off because I also don't want to get get the paper ripped. So I'm just going to come in through there, through there. Now, for this curved edge here, I'm going to get one of my strips that I'm working with. I'm just going to pleat it around the corner. And just put that across there. Just pleat it around that corner. So looks pretty rough at the moment, but I'm hoping that will establish what I want. I also want to make sure I don't stamp any paint across the bottom of my piece and inadvertently put it in there. Right, let's take this out of the way. So time for that gel plate again. And now there are two sides to this. This is a really flat grid, but if you turn it over where it's been like almost molded or pressure made, it's slightly raised. I think I'm going to do the slightly raised area. I've got everything covered, haven't I? I haven't got that bit covered there. You're probably screaming at me, won't you? Better to be safe than sorry. Right, a little tiny bit of this goes a long way. Oh, that's way too much paint. You know what? It's fine. It's fine, it's fine, everything's fine, as my friend Darcy would say. Now, I am going to be quite conscious that I want this to parallel the edge of there. I'm also looking to make sure I've got stuff on here. I'm kind of still holding the edge up slightly. So I would like that just to be a little bit more in there. Oh, there's lucky. Look, there's a bit there which I'd missed, and it's just gone either side of it. I mean, if it hasn't, that would be no problem anyway. Right, I need to put this to one side, clear this up. So here we go, guys. It's a moment of truth. I'm going to have to use a hairdryer, so I'll do what I normally do. I will drop the volume down and I'll come back to talking once I've peeled it off. Fingers crossed I can get all this off without ruining what's underneath, because I'm taking a huge risk, because the layers of paper are probably not fully dry through because I haven't actually let them dry. So back in a few seconds. Well, that's a big relief. I was very much in danger of ruining that. So that's where we're at now. I'm quite happy with that. Now it's time for me to come in with some markers. Now I'm using a mixture of this pigment liner, which came with a paint set. This is a Derwent line marker. I've got some Posca pens, and I will say that's an a Unipin. So I've got a mixture of, this isn't going to get wet, so it's not my intent to glaze it or anything. So all of these are supposed to be permanent. So I'm going to first of all take my thinnest one, which I thought was an 03. It is an 03. Need a bit of paper just to test this on to make sure that it's still active. Yes, it is still active. Now I'm going to use this just to fine line the quill, the middle bit of it. Now I'm going to try and zoom in so you can see what I'm doing, but if my head gets in the way or my hand goes outside, please forgive me on this. And as I said, I'm not looking for perfect. And I'm just looking for a sketchy sort of outline. So there's a few things I now need to do. I'm going to stay with the 0.3, and this bit here, I just want to establish the line that is the edge of the paper, and then the line which is the edge of the piece above it. So you can see I've just done that there. And then I'm going to come in. Now I am going to literally outline my feather in certain areas. Okay, so don't get hung up on that. And I'm going to do a wiggly line that pretty much follows the painted edge because I want this defined. I've got all of that detail in the edge and I want to maintain it. And I'm going to come in where there's a panel or a piece like this. I'm going to do that. Now, I'm going to leave the edges of this for the second because I'm going to come back to them. So again, this bit here, and then this bit here, I'm going to bring it up to a point. Even though the paint doesn't go to a point, I want that point so that I can follow this down. And I'm not joining it at the bottom because what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and these little fluffy bits that we worked on, I'm going to enhance them further with a few more wispy pieces, just like that. I'm going to do the same there, but I'm going to work on this side first. So again, I'm going to run my pen along the edge of the piece that I added. Now I've come out and given myself a little tiny gap there because I like the illusion that gives me. I'm going to come in from down here. I find it easier drawing towards myself than I do drawing away. So you find the best way that works for you. And then when it comes to the piece at the bottom, now this bit on the real feather actually did come out as one lump. So I'm going to put that in, but then the wispy bits were a whole nother issue. So we've got the basis of what we wanted here. Now this is the point at which you decide the style of thing is going to be. I want to fix the edges of these and I'm wondering whether I want to do a straight line or a wiggly line. If I do a wiggly line, I'm going to have gaps to fill in, but I am going to do a wiggly line here and then I'll come back in and fill that in. There was no way I could naturally have cut that and got something that's that fine in its detail. And again, I'm just going to come in and fill that bit in. So we've got our feather outline. Now, the thing is, this is the point at which I need to go, right, do I want to pull in other details? Do I want to do more stuff? And I do. So where I've got this here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull out from the central shaft. I'm going to pull out pieces. I don't need to do the whole thing. I'm just going to do it in areas, just literally flicking at this to give myself the feeling that there's something more there. Just little bits like this, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. Even though we've got the pattern on there, it's important that I put something on there. I'm also not matching them all up with the other side. So it starts to give some sort of darkness in there. I'm not going to touch this at the moment, but I am going to do little bits of that up at the top as well. Just to give the illusion, and you will still see some of the brush strokes underneath through the paint, and that will help that illusion. I'm going to bring it down into that stripe. So now when it comes to the outer edge, If you do the same thing, it's very effective, but make sure you start on the line and flick inwards. Don't try and do the whole thing. Always remember you're going towards the center of the feather. I know it sounds a bit obvious, but you'd be surprised how you can quickly start going horizontal or vertical. When I come into this area here, I'm probably going to do them slightly longer because they're going to be more visible. It's enough there. It's a little bit up here. Now we're kind of almost there with the feather. I just want to do a bit of decorating in a moment. So right, I've got all of this done. I might see whether I can just pull in a little bit more up here because that seems to be missing. And I want a little bit here just to follow the theme through. Right. So now I'm going to think about, do I want other stuff on here? And I kind of do. So I've pulled out, I've got a Unipen White Posca PC1. And I want to come in and I want to put some circles on here. And the reason I want to do that is because if we look at the stamp that was in the background, it has some circles on it in white. So I'm just going to come in. The lid fell off. Sorry. Michelle told me I shouldn't shake it with the lid off. Sorry, Michelle. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to do circles. That's enough there. Do I want to do circles anywhere else? Maybe I do. Maybe I'm going to do them in here. Now with white pens, I find I very often have to go over things twice. Just so you're aware. Okay, so I'm going to come back in when those are dry and come back over them. Now, do I want anything else anywhere else? I quite like this area here. I could do some dots in. Okay, I'm all right with that. Now, I would quite like to put a little more detail. I mean, I'm quite happy with where it's at, don't get me wrong. I think I'd quite like to put some gold in here. Do I have a gold pen here? So I've got my gold Posca, which is a PC5M, which is 2.5 millimeters. Just making sure, yeah, there's gold in there. I thought, oh, and gold on me apparently. I think I'm going to come in and I'm going to put gold in the middle of these ones here. And I think because of what I was doing, I might put some gold stripes into this. You can do so many things with this sort of technique. Now, I tend to put odd numbers. So if I'm putting stripes in like that, I'll put a half dozen of them in. 5, not a half dozen. So I'm just going to come in a few little dots in here as well. You're not going to see them. They're not going to be obvious. However, when you tip, you will see them move in the light. I might put little dots in here too. Let's go back to my white. Where is the white? There's the white. So I'm just going to come in and re-establish these again. Now, when it comes to the gold piece down here, I'm actually going to come back in. Where's that 3mm gone? I'll put it down and I can't find it. There it is. And I'm going to have to re-establish the edge because the gold broke the edge. I don't know how I'm doing well with the close-up views, guys. I'm going to have to edit them in some way to make sure you can still see. Okay, so I've given that sharp edge, but I want to do a line on either side of the gold as well. So and I'd like to just put a little black circle around each of these. Now, you could go on for a very, very long time decorating this, guys. There is so many things you can do. I'm just going to leave it at that, I think. Am I? I feel I need something in there, but I couldn't tell you. Oh, I wonder. Not really sure what I want to do now. In the other one, there are large crosses, and I'm wondering whether I could get away with doing gold crosses. I just need to see how big they would be if I did them in this pen. Actually, they wouldn't be that big. I think if I just do a few in here, and if I use the grid that I've already got to start them off. Okay, I think that I'm going to go around them in black. Number 3 pen again. Hopefully these are dry enough for me to do. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. I do have an odd number. Oh, there it is. You can tell I haven't used this one in a while. I think if I go around this in grey, now do I want to go around the edge of this? I don't think I do. So I'm just going to put the grey line around this. Then I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to put glue stick down the centre. I'm going to put art glitter glue around the edge, and I'm going to glue this in place. I'm also at the same time going to put the number and my signature in down here. And then I'll come back and do a close-up like I normally do. So the way I do this, is this working? It is working. Is I rest this, I'm resting my finger underneath, resting the tip on here, and coming around the edge. Obviously try not to slip onto the top surface of my card. If you do that, you have to be very inventive about how you're going to cover it up. There you go. See, it's just enough to give it that nice little crisp edge. Part of me wants to do more on this background, but I think it would be wrong if I did. And here we go, guys. It's all finished. I actually think it complements that page completely, although that wasn't my intent. This was originally going to be a whimsical piece. And yes, tomorrow, if I haven't found the head of a cow, I promise you I will tell you what this is all about. Maybe tomorrow will be whimsical anyway, and I'll just do something else if I can't find the cow head. I did like the background. I succeeded in once in getting really subtle washes. And remember, this isn't waterproof paper, watercolor paper. This is mixed media paper. So to be able to get those effects is great. I'd like to have got complete stamping like I did here and here, but that's because if I looked at the other side, there's a pocket with tags and stuff in it. So I was destined to pretty much never get a perfect stamp. I don't mind, however. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful layout between the two of them. And I really like, I mean, I would frame that. I tried to use colours from there. I think I complemented it colour-wise. This colour was supposed to be this colour here. I kind of matched it-ish, but I can never match things perfectly because remember, this is acrylic, this is watercolour. Even if a paint has exactly the same name and looks like it's exactly the same colour, the way paints cure or dry or fade or darken as they become dry will change it completely. But I like that. That's just lovely. And these feathers here did pull out this color here, which I kind of wasn't thinking of, but it kind of worked for me. I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until tomorrow. Goodbye now.